enter here, never return.
If you're watching this, you've already gone too far. I should stop right here, tell you to click away, pretend you never heard my voice, never read these words. But you won't. You can't. Curiosity doesn't let go that easily. And I know the kind of people who find stories like this. You tell yourselves it's just a thrill, just another scary video to pass the night. That's exactly what I thought too. There's a place people whisper about, a place that doesn't show up on maps. Some call it ghost town, others say it's government property, sealed off after an incident. The truth? Nobody agrees. All anyone ever says with certainty is this: those who enter here never return. And I'm not repeating that like some cheap urban legend. I'm telling you because I went there. I shouldn't have, and maybe telling you this means you'll end up like me. But you need to know, because it's worse not knowing that I used to laugh about these stories. My friends and I would pass them around during late-night hangs, daring each other to prove it's real. Just another stupid challenge, right? Like sneaking into an abandoned building or playing Bloody Mary in a mirror. No different, I told myself. We joked about it like kids do. I even remember saying, come on, if people really never came back, how would we even know? We laughed. God, I wish I could take that laugh back. Because here's the thing, the legend is wrong. People do come back, sort of, not in ways you'd recognize, and not in ways you'd want. That's the part no one tells you. I shouldn't be alive, but alive doesn't feel like the right word anymore. Every night, I hear the echo of that place. Every night, I wonder if I really made it out, or if I'm still there, lost in its endless corridors. And this, me speaking to you, is just another trick. Maybe I'm already gone, and you're next. So yeah, keep watching. Keep listening. I'll tell you exactly what happened. You'll lean closer to the screen. You'll tell yourself it's just a story, and maybe you'll even laugh like I did. But when you dream about rusted gates and hear voices whisper your name, remember, I warned you. But you need to hear how it really started. It was supposed to be just another night. Nothing special. Just me, a few friends, and the kind of empty hours you only get when you're young enough to think you're invincible. We were sitting in Jordan's garage, the air heavy with the smell of motor oil and half-burned incense. He swore kept mosquitoes away. The truth was, we didn't need a reason to waste time together. Sometimes just being bored was enough. That's when Tyler brought it up. You ever heard of the place where people don't come back? He asked, grinning like he'd been saving the line for maximum effect. Jordan rolled his eyes. Man, that's every horror story ever. Be specific. No, I mean it, Tyler said. Out past the woods, near the old quarry. They say there's this gate, rusted and chained, but if you go through, that's it. Nobody ever makes it back. I laughed first. It wasn't a kind laugh, either, the kind you give your friend when they say something stupid just to get attention. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. If nobody comes back, how the hell do we even know it exists? That got the others going. Jordan smacked the side of his soda can and snorted. Kayla, who'd been quiet all evening scrolling through her phone, finally looked up and smirked. He's got a point, Ty. Legends don't work if they don't leave survivors to spread the rumor. But Tyler didn't back down. He leaned forward, eyes shining in that way that told me he loved every second of us doubting him. Not everyone disappears. Some people change. They come back wrong. People in town say they've seen them wandering near the woods. Blank stares. no memory of who they were. For a second, the mood shifted. Just a second. I remember Kayla's expression faltering, like she wanted to say something but thought better of it. Then Jordan broke the tension with a fake shiver. Oh, scary. Next you're going to tell us it's aliens. Laughter again. That's how we always handled uncomfortable moments. Smother them in jokes until they felt harmless. And honestly, it worked. The dread Tyler tried to plant withered under the weight of our own arrogance. Still, his words lingered. They always do, don't they? Someone tells you not to think about something, and suddenly it's the only thing in your head. People say the government fenced it off after an incident, Tyler went on. Radiation leak, chemical spill, I don't know. Others say it's older than all that. Something unnatural, not on maps, not in any records. Like the place doesn't want to be found, but it keeps drawing people in any way. Kayla snorted. Yeah, sure. The government just forgot to erase it from TikTok, though. We laughed again, but quieter this time. I wish I could tell you I didn't feel that twinge, the little spark of curiosity lighting up in my chest. It's the same thing you're feeling now, isn't it? That is to see for yourself, to know whether the story is real. I've learned that curiosity is the cruelest trap of all. Jordan crushed his empty soda can in one hand and tossed it into the corner. So what? You're saying we should go check it out. His tone was mocking, but his eyes were daring us. Why not? Tyler shot back. What else are we going to do tonight? Play another round of Mario Kart? Come on. We've broken into worse places. Kayla groaned. You guys are idiots. But she didn't say no. That was how it always went. None of us wanted to be the one to back down, the one branded as scared. Peer pressure is subtle like that. You never hear it spoken, you just feel it tightening around your throat until you nod along. I remember glancing at the clock. 11:37 p.m. Still plenty of night left. Too much, maybe. Fine, I said, trying to sound casual. Let's go prove Tyler's full of crap. And that was it. That's simple. No dramatic music, no ominous thunderclap. Just a few dumb kids convincing ourselves we were bulletproof, talking ourselves into a decision we could never undo. Looking back, it feels unreal how quickly we crossed the line between safe and doomed. 1 minute, we were laughing in a garage. The next, we were loading into Jordan's beat-up pickup, headlights slicing through the empty streets. I can still hear the sound of the gravel crunching under the tires, that hollow silence between our jokes, the silence where fear was already beginning to grow. We thought it was a game, a thrill, a night we'd laugh about later. But it wasn't. It never was. That night, we made the mistake of going. The drive out felt endless, though in truth, it couldn't have been more than 40 minutes. That's how these things work. The closer you get, the more time seems to stretch, like the world itself doesn't want you arriving. I sat in the back seat, staring at the rows of trees rushing past the window, each one looking the same as the last, until I couldn't tell if we were moving forward or just circling the same patch of road again and again. Are you sure this is the right way? Kayla finally asked, breaking the silence. Jordan tapped the wheel. GPS says so. Unless the satellites are in on your ghost story, Ty. Tyler smirked from the passenger seat, proud of himself for dragging us into this mess. You'll see. There's a clearing up ahead. Past that, the gate. He said it like he'd been there before, like he wasn't making it up as he went. We turned off the main road onto gravel, the kind of path that barely counts as a road at all. The truck groaned over potholes, headlights bouncing over roots and stones. The forest swallowed us whole, thick trunks and heavy branches bending over the path until the night pressed in like a living thing. I remember the way my stomach dropped, not from any sudden movement, but from the realization that we were truly isolated. No houses, no streetlights, just us. When the clearing appeared, it didn't feel like relief. It felt wrong, too open, like stepping onto a stage. The trees pulled back, leaving a stretch of overgrown grass dotted with wildflowers that looked pale and gray in the moonlight. And there was the gate. It stood crooked in its hinges, chained but unlocked, the metal eaten away by rust. A faded sign hung lopsided, letters barely visible under layers of dirt and peeling paint. I stepped closer and squinted at the words. They looked official once, government-issue font, warning red, but time had erased most of them. All I could make out was, "Wow," Jordan muttered, "what a surprise. A creepy old fence in the woods. Big deal." He rattled the chain with one hand, and the sound echoed too loudly in the clearing. "Feels like a set from a bad horror movie," Kayla said, though her voice cracked around the edges. She was trying to sound unimpressed, but I caught her eyes darting back toward the woods like she expected something to step out of them. I wanted to laugh, to echo Jordan's sarcasm, but the words stuck in my throat. There was something about the air, heavy, like a storm was gathering, though the sky was clear. It pressed against my chest, made me swallow hard. Tyler, of course, pushed forward. "This is it. Told you." He tugged the chain loose, and the gate swung inward with a shriek that carried too far, fading into the forest like it was being swallowed. For a second, nobody moved. Then Jordan snorted, stepped through, and shouted, "Ta-da! I'm back. Guess the curse is broken." We all laughed, even me. The tension shattered, at least for the moment. Inside, the ground turned to cracked pavement. Weeds pushed through the asphalt, clawing toward the moon. Buildings loomed deeper in, their roofs caved in, their walls leaning like tired old men. Streetlights lined the path, their bulbs shattered, their poles bent. It looked like a town abandoned mid-breath, frozen in time. But here's what sticks with me most, the silence. Not quiet silence. No crickets, no wind, no rustling leaves. Just the sound of our shoes crunching against the broken pavement, too loud in the stillness. Kayla whispered, "Where is everybody?" like she expected an answer. Tyler grinned and lifted his phone to record. "What do you think? They never came back." He was joking, but when he played the video back, I swear I heard something else under his words. A whisper, faint, like someone repeating him a half-second late. Nobody else noticed. At least not then. We wandered past graffiti-scrawled walls. Things like "Get out," and "They watch." Tyler pointed at one and said, "Wow, so original," but I noticed the paint wasn't faded. It looked fresh, too fresh. "Bet some kids came here last week," Jordan said when I mentioned it. He kicked at a broken bottle. Probably the same ones who left all this trash. But there was no trash. No beer cans, no candy wrappers, no cigarette butts. Just empty. Like the place had been stripped of people, but not touched by time in the way it should have been. We made jokes to cover the unease, to convince ourselves it was just another dare, just another place to explore. But even as I laughed, even as I pretended to shove Tyler for creeping behind me, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us from the dark windows. That was the first time I noticed the carvings. Small at first, etched into door frames and sidewalks. Symbols I didn't recognize. Circles, lines, jagged shapes that didn't look like letters from any language I knew. And then, words carved deeper than the rest. Do you not look back? I froze, tracing the grooves with my eyes, heart hammering. Hey, Kayla said behind me. What is it? Noting elite. I didn't want to say it out loud. Didn't want to give the words more power. Instead, I forced myself forward, pretending everything was fine. Pretending I wasn't already afraid. But you can only pretend for so long. Because that was when the first recording glitched. Do not enter. And that's when we knew something was wrong. It didn't take long for the first thing to go wrong. Not in a dramatic, cinematic way. No doors slamming. No shadows lunging from the dark. It was quieter, subtler, the kind of wrong that hides in plain sight until it's too late to undo. We'd only been inside the gates maybe 15 minutes when Tyler stopped walking and frowned at his phone. Battery's dead, he muttered. Jordan groaned. You forgot to charge it again, genius. No, I didn't. Tyler jabbed at the screen, holding it up so we could see. I had 70% when we left. It just dropped. Kayla tried hers. Same thing. Dead. I pulled mine from my pocket, relief flooding me when it flickered to life, until I saw the signal bars vanish, one by one, until the screen went black entirely. 3 phones, all gone at once. We exchanged nervous glances, and for the first time that night, nobody had a joke ready. Okay, so what? Jordan said finally. His voice was forced casual, but his eyes darted toward the dark buildings looming over us. Big deal. Place probably messes with signals. It's old, abandoned, whatever. Let's keep moving. So we did. But every step felt heavier, like the air thickened the deeper we went. That's when we saw the second carving. It was on the pavement this time, scratched deep into the cracked asphalt. Do not speak after midnight. Tyler crouched down, running his fingers over the letters. This wasn't here before, he whispered. Jordan snorted, too loud. Yeah, because you'd totally remember every scratch in the road. He kicked a rock, like defiance could drown out the unease. But Kayla wasn't convinced. She hugged her arms tight to her chest. Midnight's only 20 minutes away. We kept walking, not because we weren't scared, but because turning back felt impossible. The gate was still behind us. Technically, we could see it when we turned around, but it looked farther than it should have been. Too far, like the path had stretched. That's when Jordan decided to test it. He grinned, trying to look brave. What's the worst that happens if I say something after midnight? Go show up. Don't, Kayla hissed. But he did anyway. At exactly 12:01, he shouted, hello. Anyone home? His voice bounced off the ruined buildings, echoing back sharper than it should have, like someone was mimicking him from deeper inside. We all froze. Was that? Kayla started. It's just an echo. Jordan interrupted, too fast, too defensive. But his bravado cracked when the echo didn't fade. It kept going, softer, slower, as if someone else were repeating his words, deliberately, mockingly. Jordan's smile died. That was the first time one of us broke. Kayla grabbed my arm, nails digging in. We shouldn't be here. We need to leave. Now. I wanted to agree, to turn and run. But the path behind us looked wrong. Longer, darker, like it wasn't really there anymore. And something in me knew, if we tried to leave right then, we wouldn't make it. Just Keep moving, I whispered. We pressed deeper into the ruins, hearts hammering in sync. Every corner seemed to reveal more of those carvings. On walls, on doors, even on a broken streetlight. Never split up. Do not look back. Keep your eyes shut if you hear them. Rules. Dozens of them. Scrawled like desperate instructions left for anyone foolish enough to enter. Somebody's messing with us, Jordan said again, but his voice was thinner now, like some cult or squatters or something, just trying to freak people out. But I could see the truth in his face. He didn't believe himself. None of us did. Then it happened. The first disappearance. We were arguing, voices raised, panic bleeding through, when we noticed Tyler wasn't with us anymore. 1 second he was behind us, recording with his useless phone. The next he was gone. No scream, no footsteps, just gone. Tyler, Kayla called out, her voice shaking. She spun in a circle, eyes wide. Tyler. The silence that answered was worse than any sound. Jordan swore under his breath and sprinted down the street, calling his name. I followed without thinking, Kayla right behind me. We turned corners, searched shadows, shouted ourselves hoarse. Nothing. And then Jordan stopped dead. He pointed at the wall of a crumbling shop, his face pale. Another carving. Fresh. Wet shavings of concrete still clung to the grooves. Theyll take the ones who laugh first. I felt the blood drain from my face. Tyler had laughed the loudest, hadn't he? When we first stepped through the gate, he was the one grinning, mocking, daring the place to do its worst. Now he was gone. For the first time, I understood. These weren't warnings. They were promises. Kayla started to cry, soft and broken, and I pulled her close, my own hands trembling. Jordan kicked the wall, shouting curses into the empty night. But it didn't matter. Nothing we did mattered, because that was when we knew we weren't alone. No matter how far we ran, we ended up back at the gate. I don't mean that in some symbolic, poetic way. I mean literally. We sprinted through the streets, turned corners until our lungs burned, stumbled down alleys. And when we finally stopped, gasping for air, there it was again, the same crooked iron gate swaying in the windless night. It's not possible, Kayla whispered, doubling over with her hands on her knees. Her breath came out in short, ragged bursts. We didn't turn back. We didn't. Jordan cursed under his breath, spinning in circles like he expected to catch someone rearranging the town behind his back. It's a trick, some kind of setup. We're being screwed with. But there was no one to see, just us, the crumbling buildings, and that gate that seemed to follow wherever we went. Then the whispers started. At first, I thought it was just the echo again. Jordan muttering curses, Kayla whimpering under her breath. But the whispers didn't line up. They didn't belong to us. Do you hear that? I asked, though my voice was barely audible. Kayla stiffened. Jordan went still. The whispers slid between the buildings like smoke, soft at first, then sharper, words just out of reach. My name. Swear to God. I heard my name in there, drawn out like someone savoring the sound. Keep moving, Jordan said, his voice hard, but I could hear the fear underneath. He grabbed Kayla's wrist and started pulling her down another street. We moved quickly now, but it didn't help. The whispers followed, weaving around us, multiplying. Sometimes they sounded far away, sometimes like they were brushing against the back of my neck. Every time I whipped around, there was nothing but shadows. That's when we realized the streets were changing. A building we'd passed before now stood where an alley had been. A road split in two, even though I remembered it as straight. The entire town shifted when we weren't looking, rearranging itself like a maze built just to keep us lost. Mark it, Jordan said, his voice sharp. He pulled a pocket knife from his jeans and scraped an X into a wall. So we know where we've been. But 10 minutes later, we turned a corner, and there was again the same X, fresh and deep. We hadn't moved at all. Kayla started crying again, silent tears streaming down her cheeks. I wanted to tell her it would be okay, but the words felt fake even in my own head. Then the footsteps came. Slow, deliberate, heavy. Not ours. We froze, every muscle screaming at us to run, but none of us could move. The sound grew louder, closer, echoing off the walls. I wanted to tell myself it was Tyler, that he'd just wandered off and was finally catching up, but deep down I knew the rhythm was wrong. Too steady, too patient. Don't look back, Kayla whispered, repeating the carved warning. Her voice trembled so badly the words barely held together. But Jordan turned. His eyes widened, his face drained of color, and he stumbled backward so fast he nearly fell. Run, he hissed. Run. We bolted. The footsteps followed, faster now, matching our every move. I didn't dare glance behind me. I kept my eyes locked on Jordan's back, Kayla's hand clutching my sleeve, the broken pavement rushing beneath our feet. The streets twisted, folding in on themselves. We passed the same shattered fountain 3 times in a row. The same burned-out car appeared on different corners. No matter how far we ran, the town was a loop, a trap. And still, the footsteps followed. Then came the voices. Not whispers this time, louder, clearer. Our names called out one by one, in voices that weren't quite right. Tyler's voice, my mother's, even my own, echoing ahead of us like I was running toward myself. Kayla screamed, clapping her hands over her ears. Make it stop. But it didn't stop. It grew louder, pressing in from every direction. Keep moving, Jordan barked, though his own voice cracked with panic. We turned into another alley, and for the first time, I dared a glance over my shoulder. I wish I hadn't. There was something there, just at the edge of the darkness, too tall, too thin, its movements jerky like a puppet yanked by invisible strings. Its face, or what should have been its face, was a blur, features shifting too fast to focus on. But it was watching us, watching me. I stumbled, nearly falling, and Kayla yanked me upright. Don't look back, she sobbed. We burst out of the alley into another street. And for a moment, I thought we'd lost it. The whispers quieted, the footsteps faded. The silence returned, heavy and suffocating. Jordan collapsed against a wall, dragging a sleeve across his sweaty forehead. What the hell is this place? He gasped. What is it? I didn't answer. I couldn't, because I knew if I tried to explain what I'd seen, it would become too real. That was when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I froze. We'd all seen them die earlier, their batteries drained to nothing. But now mine lit up, the screen glowing faintly. A notification blinked across it. One new voicemail. My heart hammered as I lifted it to my ear. Static hissed, then a voice whispered through. Not a stranger's voice. Not Tyler's. My own. Why are you still here? It asked. The line went dead. I dropped the phone like it burned me. Kayla stared, eyes wide with terror. Jordan swore and kicked the pavement. We didn't speak after that. We didn't need to. We all knew the truth. We were being hunted, not just by whatever stalked the streets, but by the place itself. The town wasn't just a location, it was alive, and it wanted us. It happened so quickly, I still replayed in my head, trying to figure out the exact second everything cracked apart. She was right. There was something in Jordan's eyes, something that hadn't been there before. A shine, like the reflection of light in a predator's gaze. "We don't have a choice," he said. "If we stay here, it'll catch us. If we go down, maybe it's worse. But maybe it's not. I'd rather risk something than sit here waiting to die." I wanted to argue, to drag him back, but a sound echoed from the street behind us. The same heavy, deliberate footsteps, closer than ever. Jordan smirked, as if the timing proved his point. "See, we're out of time." And then he stepped inside. Kayla begged me not to follow, but the footsteps were almost upon us, and the open door, foul as it was, felt like the only option. I didn't decide so much as stumble after him. Kayla's sobs chasing me into the dark. The door slammed shut behind us. The descent was endless. The stairs groaned with every step, spiraling downward, the air growing colder, wetter, heavier. My hand trailed along the wall, and the texture shifted, stone, then wood, then something that felt like skin. Kayla whimpered each time the surface changed. Jordan, though, never slowed. If anything, he seemed energized, almost exhilarated. "You feel it, don't you?" he said over his shoulder. His voice sounded different now, deeper, echoing strangely in the stairwell. "This place isn't trying to kill us. It's trying to show us." "Show us what?" I snapped, though my throat felt too tight to force the words out. Jordan didn't answer. The whispers returned, curling up the stairwell like smoke. They weren't just random now, they were conversations. Murmurs between unseen things, punctuated by laughter that made my skin crawl. And sometimes I swore Jordan was whispering back. When I finally caught up to him, I grabbed his arm. "What's wrong with you? You're not yourself." His face twitched, a flicker of annoyance quickly buried beneath a smile. "Maybe I'm more myself than I've ever been." Kayla gasped. "It's got him." We reached the bottom then, if you can call it that. The stairs spilled into a cavern lit by no source I could see. The walls pulsed faintly, as though the stone itself was alive. And in the center stood a circle of figures, tall and thin, their features blurred, their presence radiating the same unbearable wrongness I'd glimpsed in the alley. They weren't solid. They flickered, half-formed shadows trying on human shapes. But their attention was undeniable. They were waiting. Jordan walked straight toward them. Kayla screamed, pulling me back, but I couldn't move. The figures whispered his name in perfect unison, the sound vibrating through my bones. He fell to his knees before them, his head bowed. "Finally," he said. His voice no longer sounded like his. One of the figures reached down, and where its hand should have been, there was only darkness. It touched Jordan's shoulder, and he convulsed, laughing and choking all at once. Kayla dragged me backward, her nails biting into my wrist. "We have to go now." But the cavern didn't have an exit, only the stairs we'd come from. And as I turned, I saw they were gone. The wall was solid, smooth, alive with faintly beating veins. We were trapped. Jordan lifted his head then, and for the first time since I'd known him, I couldn't recognize his face. His eyes were black, his grin impossibly wide, splitting too far across his cheeks. "You don't get it," he said, voice distorted, layered with echoes. "This isn't a curse. It's an invitation. The figures closed in, their whispers overlapping into a single, deafening chant. Kayla clutched me like a lifeline, and all I could do was stare as Jordan stepped into their embrace, his body dissolving into the same shifting blur as theirs. He was gone. Kayla sobbed into my chest, but I couldn't comfort her, because the figures had turned toward us now, and they were smiling. They didn't lunge for us. That was the worst part. If those figures had attacked, if they had simply ended it right there, maybe it would have been better, cleaner. But instead, they just watched us, their shifting faces rippling like reflections in disturbed water. Smiles stretched too wide, lips forming shapes I couldn't name. Kayla's sobs echoed against the cavern walls, but none of them reacted. It was like they were waiting for us to understand something, some truth too big and ugly for words. And then one of them, taller than the rest, its outline sharper, more deliberate, stepped forward. "You entered," it said. The voice wasn't sound. It was pressure. It filled my head like liquid, choking out my own thoughts. My knees buckled under the weight of it. Kayla clutched my arm, digging her nails deep, as if holding on to me would keep her tethered to herself. I tried to speak, but my throat felt raw. "We didn't know." "You knew enough." The figure's head tilted, snapping too fast to be human. Its body flickered between silhouettes. A man, a woman, something inhuman and boneless, before settling back into its blurred form. "You crossed the gate. The ones who cross belong." Kayla shook her head violently. "We don't belong here. We just wanted to leave. We never meant." Her voice broke, but the figure didn't move. Its smile only widened. "Wanting is not meaning. Meaning is not belonging. You are here because you were always meant to be here." The words slithered through my skull, burrowing deeper than I wanted to admit. A part of me recoiled, but another part, the part one didn't want to acknowledge, recognized something familiar in them. Kayla screamed, covering her ears, but that didn't stop it. The figures all began to whisper in unison, their chant rising into a wave of sound that pressed against us from every direction. And in that noise I understood, not in sentences, not in logic, but in images, flashes that sear into my mind like brands. 100 faces staring at the gate, daring each other to enter. Their screams swallowed by the town, their bodies dissolving into its walls. The whispers, not echoes but remnants, souls trapped in loops, voices repeating until they weren't voices anymore. The town itself, alive, breathing, feeding. Not a place, a thing. Every building was a rib, every street a vein. And the gate? The gate was a mouth. It wasn't that people never returned. It was that the town kept them. The realization left me shaking so violently I almost collapsed. Kayla pulled at me, her face pale, her eyes wild. "What are they saying? What do they show you?" I didn't want to answer. I didn't want to make it real. But the words spilled out anyway. We're not in a town. We're inside it." Kayla blinked, horror dawning across her face. She looked at the pulsing walls, the veins threading through the stone, the shifting shadows around us. Her lips trembled, and then she screamed. The figures laughed. Not loud, not raucous. A low, rippling laugh, like the sound of paper tearing in water. It was worse than screaming. It was joy. "Now you see," the tall figure said. "Now you understand why no one returns." Kayla broke then. She shoved me toward the wall, her nails raking my arm. "This is your fault. You dragged me here. If you hadn't—" I grabbed her wrist before she could claw deeper. "Kayla, stop. Please." But she wasn't listening. Her mind had cracked, her terror boiling into fury. Her eyes darted between me and the figures as if weighing which one of us had destroyed her life. The tall figure leaned closer, its smile splitting into jagged edges. One breaks. One stays. One learns. Kayla yanked free from me and stumbled forward, straight toward the circle of figures. I screamed her name, but she didn't look back. Her sobs twisted into laughter as she collapsed at their feet. "No." I tried to run after her, but something invisible gripped me, pinning me to the floor. I watched as the figures bent over her, their shadows covering her body. She screamed once, a sound so sharp it sliced through me. Then her voice merged with theirs, another whisper added to the endless chorus. Kayla was gone. Tears blurred my vision, but I couldn't look away. My chest ached, my throat burned, but all I could hear was the tall figure's voice in my head. "You cannot run from belonging. You cannot fight what welcomes you." The weight on my chest lifted suddenly, and I collapsed forward, gasping for air. The figures stepped back, leaving only silence and the faint pulse of the walls. They weren't attacking. Not yet. They were waiting. Waiting for me to make a choice. And in that silence, I realized something worse than death. They weren't keeping us here against our will. They wanted us to accept it. They wanted us to stay because we chose to. The footsteps returned then, those heavy, deliberate steps echoing through the cavern. Louder now, closer, and this time I understood what was coming. It wasn't hunting me. It was coming to welcome me home. The footsteps didn't stop. They came closer, steady and deliberate, like the beating of a giant heart echoing through the cavern. Each one made the walls tremble, veins pulsing harder with light that wasn't light, something sickly and alive. I stumbled backward, searching for anything that resembled an exit, but the cavern was sealed tight. Kayla's laughter still rang in my ears, even though her body was gone. Absorbed, dissolved, stolen. And Jordan. God, Jordan. His smile still burned in my mind, wide and wrong. His body swallowed into that circle of things as if he'd never been human at all. That left me. The last one. The figures began to spread apart, giving space. I realized why. The footsteps weren't theirs. Something else was coming. Something larger, heavier. The air thickened, hot and wet, clinging to my skin. My stomach twisted as the shadows on the far side of the cavern rippled, parting like curtains. It emerged slowly, and I wished it hadn't. The creature was colossal, its shape both familiar and impossible. Like the town itself had pulled pieces of buildings, streets, and flesh together to form a body. Its head was a spire, its arms long streets that bent and cracked with every movement. Windows blinked like eyes, doors opened and shut like mouths. It wasn't a monster. It was the town made flesh, and it was looking at me. The cavern shook as it stepped forward, the echoes of entire streets shifting inside its frame. I felt the weight of it in my bones. "You are the last," it said. The voice wasn't spoken. It vibrated through the ground, the walls, my skull. Every nerve in my body screamed to run, but there was nowhere to go. "I don't belong here," I shouted, though my words cracked and broke. "I never wanted this." The thing's head tilted, bricks grinding like teeth. All who enter belong. The figures around it laugh softly, a ripple of whispers that made my skin crawl. I want to fight back. I wanted to scream at them, to claw my way out, to do something. But the weight of it pressed me down, pinning me where I stood. My knees buckled, slamming against the stone. And then the walls began to close in. Not just the cavern, the entire place. The pulsing stone lurched inward, veins tightening, ceiling lowering. Dust rained down as the town contracted like a muscle squeezing shut. I realized what was happening. The town wasn't just alive. It was feeding Kayla, Jordan, everyone before us. We weren't victims. We were fuel. The pressure built so fast my chest felt like it would crack open. My phone, dead, broken, buzzed in my pocket again. Against all reason, I pulled it out. The screen glowed faintly, spiderwebbed with cracks. A message appeared. Just 5 words. You should not be here. I laughed, a jagged, broken sound that didn't feel like it belonged to me. No kidding. The cavern shook harder. The walls pressed closer. The giant form leaned down, its faceless spire-like head blotting out everything else. You will join, it said. My vision swam. My ears filled with whispers, every voice I'd ever known, twisting together. My mother's laugh. Tyler's jokes. Kayla's sobs. Jordan's voice, layered over itself like an echo caught in a loop. Part of me wanted to give in, to stop fighting, to let it happen. Maybe it wouldn't hurt if I just accepted it. But another part of me, small, angry, stubborn, refused. I forced myself to my feet, every muscle shaking. No, you whispered. My throat burned, but I said it again louder. No. The figures flinched, their whispers stuttering. The giant form tilted its head again, almost curious. You resist. Yes. My voice cracked, but I clung to it like a lifeline. I don't belong to you. I don't belong here. For a moment, silence. The cavern paused, the walls still, the whispers holding their breath. And then the laughter started again. This time it was deafening. The figures shrieked, the giant form roared, and the walls convulsed inward all at once. The ground split beneath me, the air tearing with the sound of 1,000 voices screaming. I stumbled, reaching for anything to hold on to. My hand caught the jagged edge of a stone vein, cutting deep into my palm. Blood spilled across the surface, soaking into it. The walls shuddered. The figure stopped laughing. The giant form froze. Something shifted then, something I didn't understand. My blood had sunk into the living stone, and the cavern reacted, not with hunger, but with recoil. The whispers faltered. The pressure lifted slightly. For the first time since I'd stepped through that gate, the town hesitated, and I realized something I wasn't supposed to know. It could be hurt. The cavern held its breath. I stood there, palm bleeding against the pulsing stone, and for the first time, the place recoiled. The veins around my hand blackened, shrinking away like roots touched by fire. The figures stuttered, their whispers tangled into a frantic hiss. The giant form didn't move at first. It loomed above me, its spire-like head blotting out the ceiling, streets and windows shifting across its body like restless insects. But then it leaned back, bricks grinding like teeth, as if uncertain. Uncertain. That single crack in its confidence lit something inside me. Hope, maybe, or just stubborn defiance. I pressed harder, smearing more blood into the wall. "You're not untouchable," I spat, voice shaking but sharp. "You're not God. You're just hungry." The cavern roared, the sound of collapsing buildings and screaming metal. The figures scattered, stretching into shadows, but they didn't vanish. They circled me now, faster, closer, their forms flickering with agitation. The giant's voice thundered in my skull. "You cannot fight what you are inside." My knees trembled, but I forced myself upright. Then maybe I can tear my way out. The laughter came again, but weaker this time, tinged with something that almost sounded like doubt. Kayla's voice rose in the chorus, warped and broken, but I still recognized it. "Stay." Jordan's followed. "Join." Tyler's laugh echoed faintly, like he was right behind me. "You'll never escape." I clutched my head, their voices drilling into my skull. The cavern spun, walls heaving in rhythm with their chant. The choice clawed at me from both sides, tearing me apart. One path: give in, belong, dissolve into the whispers, and never fight again. No more fear, no more running, just silence. The other: resist, spill more blood, fight the town itself. But could I? Could one person really wound something this big, this old, this alive? The phone in my pocket buzzed again. I yanked it out, screen glowing faintly despite the spiderweb cracks. Another message. It's still watching. I didn't know who sent it or if it was even real, but it jolted me like a spark to dry tinder. If it was watching, then it could bleed. If it could bleed, then it could die. I dragged the jagged stone across my palm again, deepening the cut. Pain flared, hot and sharp, but grounded me. I slammed my hand against the wall. Blood smeared across the veins, and the cavern shrieked. The figures convulsed, their forms flickering violently. The giant staggered, bricks splitting, windows shattering across its body. It was working. The cavern buckled, a thunderous crack tearing through the air as the walls shuddered and split. Dust rained down in choking waves, the ground heaving beneath me like a living thing in pain. The giant roared, its voice shaking the marrow in my bones. Streets bent and snapped across its body, lights winking out one by one. The figures shrieked, their whispers unraveling into panicked screams. For the first time, they sounded afraid. I pressed harder, dragging my bloody hand across the wall. The veins recoiled violently, retreating deep into the stone as if burned. The floor beneath me split open, glowing with a sickly red light, pulsing like an exposed heart. The phone buzzed again. One last message. Finish it. I didn't hesitate. I drove my fist into the wound I'd carved into the wall, smearing every drop of blood I had left. My vision blurred, body weak, but I held on. The cavern convulsed, a final scream ripping through the air. The figures disintegrated into smoke, their voices cut off mid-scream. The giant staggered, its towering form collapsing, bricks crumbling, streets snapping like brittle bones. It fell inward, imploding, dragging the town with it. The world around me tore apart, walls collapsing into nothing, the ceiling shattering like glass. I was weightless, tumbling through the dark, the roar of the dying town echoing in my skull. And then silence. When I opened my eyes, I was outside, standing on cracked pavement under a gray morning sky. Behind me, the gate stood silent, rusted and broken, its frame twisted. The town was gone. No whispers, no figures. My hand shook as I pulled the phone from my pocket. The cracked screen glowed faintly, letters crawling across like they were being carved into the glass. You didn't escape. My breath caught. I spun around. The gate was still there, rusted, broken, empty. Behind it, only trees and mist. No piercing walls. No giant. No shadows. For a moment, I almost believed it was real. That I had fought my way out. That I'd won. But then I noticed the ground. The pavement under my feet wasn't pavement at all. The cracks pulsed faintly, veins of red light weaving through the stone. The air buzzed, low and steady, like a heartbeat too deep to hear. My stomach dropped. I wasn't outside. I'd never left. The town hadn't collapsed. It had shifted, changed its skin, its shape. It had given me the illusion of freedom, just long enough for me to believe. The phone buzzed again, hot against my palm. New words burned into the screen, one by one. Welcome home. I stumbled back, but there was nowhere to go. The horizon stretched endlessly, gray skies over cracked pavement. The same road folding into itself like a snake devouring its own tail. In the distance, I heard them again. Footsteps. Heavy. Slow. Deliberate. The giant wasn't gone. It was here, closer than before. And the whispers. God, the whispers. They rose again, soft and patient, curling inside my skull. Kayla, Jordan, all the voices I thought I'd lost. They weren't screaming anymore. They were laughing. My phone slipped from my hand, clattering against the ground. The screen cracked further, one last line bleeding across it like an open wound. Nobody leaves. And this time I believed it.